So what would you do if there was a lady of the evening? Like if you were with a girl, right? You were with a lady and you were kind of macking on it, right? And all you can eat spaghetti starts to pour out.
That's a 2-for-1 deal, my friend.
Gross. You're gonna eat the spaghetti?
Yeah.
How?
I'm going to put it in my mouth.
You're just gonna like you're a dude at a soda fountain. You're just gonna kind of stick your mouth underneath it and like wait for spaghetti to pour in.
Well, no, I'll grab it and I'll like guide it into my mouth.
That's weirder to me. That you're grabbing the spaghetti and kind of just like snaking it into your mouth.
Why are you kink shaming me?
I didn't know this was a kink. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, now you do. Welcome to the No Experience Podcast, where two flamboyant little choir boys are on a quest to talk about anything and everything. I'm Jared Hines, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Ammar Abdullah, and today we are talking about a story. It's a story time episode. All right, Ammar. What's our story?
It's a classic storytime episode. We were both high school choir boys in Bora High School men's choir, and as such, we have just a myriad of crazy stories about dudes towing the line of homosexuality while never crossing it. So, let's just regale people with some fun and crazy stories from our time as Bora High School's most interesting choir boys. Go ahead. I'll let you kick off this episode, Jared.
No, I want to play rock, paper, scissors for it.
Okay, you want to play rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah.
So we going on shoot or on three?
On
like 1, 2, 3 shoot or 1, 2, 3?
We're going on 1, 2 now.
Okay.
1, 2 now. 1, 2 now.
Okay, I guess you're going first. You won. It's golf. It's golf rules. Bested yet again in a battle of wits.
Okay, so this story requires just a tiny little bit of context.
The best kind of story.
I used to be on the path to becoming an alcoholic. I had this Jackson's, right, that was across the street from where I lived.
For the uninitiated, Jackson's is a gas station / convenience store in the Northwest.
Yeah. Don't interrupt me again. I'll fucking kill you.
Try it.
All right. Anyways, I had this Jackson's across the street from my place, and I was really into drinking at the time. So I would go across the street in like odd ass hours of the night when my father was asleep, and I would go over to Jackson's and I would have like some fucking pocket change or something, and I would have a hoodie around my waist. I would go in and I would grab like a little lemon head or some shit, and I would end up walking out of there with alcohol. At one point, I walked out with like 2 pints and a 40 just in my pants. So,
truly, you are a Indiana Jones of yourself. You are a thief.
You are thief.
You are thief. Okay, so you stole some alcohol from the Jacksons.
Yes. Now, I was in choir at this point. It was varsity men's choir. And we had a lot of little events that we did. We would have little choir parties.
Yeah,
right?
Little get-togethers, little shindigs.
Now, mind you, this is Idaho, and we do have I wouldn't say significant, but a larger portion of Mormons in Idaho.
We have a pretty big Mormon population around here.
Because like Idaho is just above Utah, right? Which is like the Mormon Mecca as far as I'm concerned.
Land,
yeah. So a lot of these choir parties would be hosted at these Mormon people's houses because they had really big, nice houses.
Yeah, and if you know Mormons, man, they live in McMansions. It's kind of a weird little bit about being a member of the Mormon church is that you have a fancy house.
Yep. You get shmoney. So we have this choir party. We're all enjoying ourselves. I have a 40 in my backpack. I decide to go into this Mormon kid's house's bathroom and just mac down this 40.
And granted, this was like a 2-story house, like a 3-story house, actually. It was pretty huge. This man chose to go into the bathroom just on the other side of the wall from this party, just full of Mormon choir boys.
Yep. And I drank this 40 practically by myself. I think there was one little delinquent that came in the bathroom with me at one point and stole a couple swigs. But so I'm tipsy, right? And we had this game that we would play. It was called Fugitive. It was basically cops and robbers, but
yeah, it was basically a really built up game of tag is kind of what it was.
But it was super cool because we would play it late at night. The quote unquote cops would have cars, literal actual cars, right? And then the fugitives would start on the opposite end of the neighborhood from these cops. And once the game started, the whole point was the fugitives had to get over to the other side of the neighborhood, undetected and untagged, right? And the cops had to hunt them down in cars.
For context, this is an Idaho suburb, safe to roam the streets at night and all that shit.
Yeah. We're not just like running out in the middle of fucking Victory or some shit.
Yeah,
you know?
You did that in like Detroit or something. You'd have a lot of dead Mormon kids.
Yeah. But we were fine. So I'm playing fugitive tipsy shit, and most of my classmates are none the wiser unless they can smell it on my breath.
Which it's a 40, so they might have been able to.
Yeah, they might have been able to. But
shit will stink up your breath pretty bad.
Yeah. And Ammar was at this party, albeit a little later, because he was a little busy when the party started.
Yeah, I was macking on my girlfriend prior to the party. We were doing the classic anything but that high school kids will do when, you know, their parents are in the house. So, you know, a lot of dick and booby touching, you know, a lot of ass grabs, you know, nothing too crazy, right? So I roll up to this party probably about 2 or 3 hours into it. Carry on, Jared.
He waddles into the Mormon people's house, right? And I say waddle very specifically.
Yeah, he's not using that term flagrantly.
No. He waddles in with his fucking hands on his dick, or more specifically his balls, because he is in pain.
Yeah.
Because he's got blue balls.
Probably the worst case of blue balls I've ever had in my life. Like, awful case of blue balls.
Mm-hmm. I'm just sitting there tipsy as shit next to him, and he's sitting there on the verge of crying as far as I'm concerned. I think I offered him a swig of one of the pints that I also brought to that party.
Yeah, and this was me fresh out of rehab at the time, so I couldn't.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't like fresh. I spent some time, you know, doing rehab like end of freshman year, and this was like halfway through my junior year. So it was a couple years out from it, but still pretty fresh as far as alcoholics are concerned.
Yeah. So I offer this poor, suffering, recovering alcoholic some alcohol in his trying times. He ended up refusing. He was showing a lot of willpower.
I was really convinced that the boys couldn't tell something was wrong with me by the way that I was curled up in a ball on the couch. I was like, there's no way. They can't know. They can't possibly know. How would they know?
Yeah, it was pretty obvious. Maybe not to the Mormon kids.
Well, yeah, the Mormon kids would have been none the wiser about my blue balls. And even if they, you know, did know something was wrong with me, I don't think that they would have known what blue balls was at the time. But let me tell you, worst party of my life. You know, just curled up in a ball playing Super Smash Brothers with just a flagrant case of blue balls. Yeah.
It looked like a lot of fun.
It wasn't fun.
Yeah. Do you have any choir stories for us?
I do have keeping with the theme of choir parties and get-togethers. There was a lot of that. It was a big part of the choir community at our high school was the idea of camaraderie, especially for the men, was establishing a sense of camaraderie. And one of the things we did to do that was we would host these parties a couple times a year. And one of them was a Christmas party with a white elephant gift exchange. And boy howdy, one of the gift exchanges was probably the funniest shit I had ever seen, but I had to stifle how hard I was laughing at it. Because one kid for the white elephant, a lot of it was like standard shit, like ping pong balls stuffed into a box. Mine was a bunch of boxes inside of one really big box.
Oh my God.
And in the very middle was like a Dragon Ball Z Buddha. But the funniest one that I saw was one kid, and I swear to God, he probably just pulled it out of his backpack and stuffed it in like some shitty wrapping paper, was just a box of condoms. And the Mormon kids looked so horrified when the box was open. The box was open and there's condoms inside. You would think we had just told them their mother was dead. Like the look on their face, the pure shock and horror. Boy, howdy.
You know what's funny? After all that, it was I ended up with that box of condoms.
Yeah.
But I was not the one that it was gifted to. I was the one that ended up with it by the end of the night.
Right.
And I still have that box.
Yeah, the funniest part of all was the box at some point got opened up, and one of the the choir presidents, because that was a big part of it, was that a couple dudes got elected to be choir president to basically just pick songs and pick people for solos and shit like that. And one of them straight up put one of the condoms on his head and inflated it over his nose. There's a really famous picture of him with a condom on his head, blown up to the size of a fucking balloon.
Absolutely beautiful. It was that choir president was Mormon too. It was a beautiful, beautiful sight to behold.
Yeah, it was kind of awesome, kind of incredible.
Honestly, when you started this story and talked about the white elephant, I thought you were going to bring up the habanero peppers.
The habanero peppers was pretty good too. There was a kid who brought just a bag of habaneros for a white elephant, and everybody insisted on eating them. And let's be honest, these are all like Mormon white kids. Not all of them were Mormon, but they were all like, white kids from Idaho. None of these dudes had fucking dealt with spice before.
Yeah, this was pre-mission, so...
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in an Arabic household. We spice things, motherfucker. Like, come on over, I'll make you a kebab or a spicy curry, and you'll see what I mean. But like, these dudes had never experienced it, so they crack open the bag of habanero peppers, and I've never seen a group of 16 to 18-year-olds crumble so fast. Like, seriously, falling to the ground, holding their mouths, pounding back yogurt and milk, trying to stop the spice. And it's like, no, you just gotta feel it. You just gotta embrace it. It's tasty. It's good.
Yeah, no, I am a white guy, for the record. I ended up taking one of those peppers home, and I did record myself eating it.
Which in a way is kind of the most baller ass thing you can do, is eat it by yourself.
Yeah. It was a mistake.
Of course.
I was fucking crying. I think I almost threw up because I was just chugging a gallon of milk, just a whole ass gallon just in my hand. And it was awful.
Yeah, I can imagine, because milk, even for not lactose intolerant people, should be consumed in moderation. Not great for pounding back when you have spicy food in your belly, because it's going to mix in your tum-tum. And boy, howdy, the experience is going to be ugly. That I can tell you.
But I think there is something to be said that when peppers and shit are processed, right, and you turn them into sauces or fucking seasonings or whatever, that's a little bit more... you can handle that better because it's more controlled, right? If you just take a bite out of a pepper with all the seeds and shit in it, I feel like that's going to be a bad experience for most people.
Oh, yeah. The ability to handle spice is different from the ability to handle your own stupid. I mean, doing something stupid is going to get you either way.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, so there was a lot of crazy shit given away at White Elephants. That was pretty awesome. But let me get into some more... let me get into some other stories, some stranger stories. So one such story, and a fun one at that, is when I was in choir, was sort of a like an everyman type beat. I could sort of, orbit around different groups and sort of gravitate from group to group, because the choir had like 200 people in it. Like, it was huge. Like, considering male, female, audition and non-audition choirs, like, we had a lot of fucking people in it. And I was able to sort of get in good with any of them just by, pretending to be into whatever they were into. which is sort of my strategy in real life now, is just to, in order to pad my own interactions with other people, I pretend to be into whatever they're into, even if I'm not. But all that to say, I had pretty easy access to the choir auditorium, because the choir room where we got together to sing and to practice and to, get ready for concerts and shit was attached to the auditorium. And I had pretty much free access to get into and out of there anytime. Even if I couldn't get the key, I was in close enough with people who I knew could get the key. And all of that amounted to this one particular story. So let me regale you. It was May, or perhaps April, of my junior year. And we had a huge end of year concert to practice for festival. Festival is where we go to all, sing in front of judges and get graded for how good we did, get some performance grades. It bodes well for if you're trying to join singing programs in higher education, secondary school, that kind of thing. But I had a crazy idea. There were a few songs that I was supposed to sing in that I did not sing in because I was more concerned with a heist, shall we say. So, I can't believe I'm telling this story. I'm going to be in so much trouble if my choir teacher ever listens to this.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck this is.
Yeah, so during the festival concert, I got into the tech room, the spot where the lights and the projector and shit are, for the tech people who want to handle lights and shit. And I took the ladder up to the catwalk. All right? Now, I did two things up on that catwalk. I laid down above our director's head and caught a selfie with her in the background. I don't still have it, but I wish I did. I might actually, if I go look in my Google Drive or whatever. But I did that. I caught a picture above our director's head. And more importantly, I tucked $20 with a note up there. And I hid notes all throughout the school that says, like, hey, there's $20 in the auditorium. If you can get up to the catwalk, it's yours. As far as I know, nobody ever found it. That $20 is still there. It was inspired by how somebody slipped a note into my pants before a concert one day saying there was $20 up there. And there was no $20. So I was like, you know what? I'll do you one better. I'll actually put a crisp, fresh $20 bill up there on the catwalk. And all you got to do is look behind a light to find it. So that's probably the craziest shit I ever did during my time in choir.
That's fucking insane. He never told me about this.
I've held the story in my back pocket for just such an occasion as a story time episode.
That's fucking beautiful. Well, if we're going to that level then, right?
By all means.
Where we might get in trouble. I have one too.
Oh,
and
great.
I'm pretty sure you already know about this one, but
it might be fun to hear again.
Yeah. So one of the traditions that was held among some in our choir was, okay, little bit of context. The choir, where we did choir, was in a separate building from the rest of the campus.
Yeah, it had its own building attached to the auditorium.
Yeah. One of the traditions held among some of the choir kids was that you have to get a picture on the roof before you graduated.
Oh, no. Yeah, that was one that I tried to participate in, but we could not figure out how to get through the lock on the attic.
Yeah, there were a few ways to get up there, I guess. One of them was like a fire escape, shit like that. I never ended up doing it before I graduated, but it was something that I always wanted to do. So after I graduated, I was a full-blown adult out of high school. I decided... Or actually, I was hanging out with one of our friends and I was telling him about this, and he was like, let's go do it. I was like, what? He was
I
like,
do know this story.
Let's do it. I was like, okay, fuck yeah. So he drove me out in the middle of the night. We get to this building and I have to try and figure out how to get on the roof. Because I can't go inside the building. Everything's locked.
Yeah, mind you, this is super illegal and something
incredibly illegal.
Yeah, something that if you got caught, you'd have at the very least been nailed for trespassing, and probably a lot worse.
Yes, yeah. I am remorseful. That hopefully absolves me. Anyways,
I mean, there's no evidence, so You know, at
True.
best, you just say you did this. You climbed on the choir auditorium roof in Minecraft. You know, that saves you from anything. You can say whatever if you end it with from in Minecraft.
Yeah. But anyways, there's no ladder or anything. There was no easy way to get up there, from what I could see. And eventually my friend was like, we might have to call it quits, man. But then I saw that there was still a trash can out. So I took the bag out of the trash can and I flipped it over next to the entrance to the auditorium, the main entrance that you would enter into the foyer. And there was a little lip there. And I basically had to kind of jump a little bit, grab the lip, use just all upper body strength to just like hoist myself up, grab another little lip, maybe get my foot up there. I can't remember the exact details, but I remember it was a bitch. And then I get up onto the front of the auditorium onto this like domed roof. And I have to carefully like slink my way across to where there's another higher terraced area that I could climb up onto. I climbed on the AC, and then eventually I got up onto the edge where it was above the choir room, and I sat on the corner, and I got a picture. I like threw my friend my phone from like 15 feet up or some shit like that, and he took a picture of me.
Pretty incredible. Pretty good story. Yeah.
It made me feel good.
Yeah, and I mean, there's, smaller scale stuff that we did. Like, for instance, one time I got my hands on one of those dollar store sticky hands, the kind where you slap it to take people's papers and shit. And me, not being one to just use it on my fellow students, decided to use it on the director, where we were warming up for a day of choir, and the director walks up and sets her music down on the stand, and I'm ducked back behind this piano, and quietly, as she's like leading everybody through warm-ups, I just kind of creep out from under the piano, and I sneak up while she can't see me, and I just slicked the fucking papers off of her music stand. She was not happy with me for that one. Heather, if you're listening, I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah.
I think you mean pleather.
What? I don't think that's what I mean.
No, I think you mean feather.
Right. Anyway, so that's pretty good. I think. Let me think. I think there are some I think there's at least one more. Oh, one story we can tell that we were both there for was the kids who got caught with weed in their room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this was my senior year of high school. It would have been Jared's junior year. And every year, the choir, the entire department, has what they call choir tour, which is basically a retreat. It's a trip. We all hop on a bus and we go to Portland or Salt Lake or what have you. A group a couple of years ago got to go to New York, which I'm still pretty fucking jealous about. But we had gone to Salt Lake this year. And some boys, some nasty little angry boys, some little friggin' mischievous boys, some imps, brought some weed with them on the trip. I know most of these guys. I still know most of these guys. They're nice dudes. I don't think that they were trying to ruin anybody's experience. I think they were just trying to get their smoke on in a city.
They were trying to enhance their own experience.
Exactly. So we all travel to Salt Lake. We check into our hotel. We're not there for but an hour before someone starts coming around to all the rooms and knocking on them and asking us, hey, are this person, and this person in your room? And I'm like, no, should they be? And it's like, no, we think they brought contraband. I know what that means when I hear it. The rest of the boys in my room were kind of like, contraband? What the fuck are you talking about? They're like, well, we have reason to believe they may have brought weed with them. These boys didn't just bring weed with them, Jared and our fellow listeners at home. Upon further investigation of their hotel room, they had brought weed, like classic nugs, flour, that kind of shit. They had brought dab pens, and they had brought like all different kinds of rigs, like bongs, pipes, hydros, that kind of shit. All kinds of different stuff to smoke weed out of and different kinds of weed to smoke. They got caught and nailed
They brought a whole ass fucking dispensary with them.
Yeah, pretty much. It was kind of fucking insane that they would bring, like, if you're going to bring weed with you on a trip, you bring like a couple little joints, right? You don't bring the whole fucking shabazz. You don't bring your whole weed closet, which it seems like is what they did. So those dudes all ended up getting sent home. The funny thing was a bunch of them, like, the choir director and some of the chaperones were not willing to, like, shell out the extra money to bus them home, which means a lot of them had to call their parents and get picked up from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh my fucking God.
Which is like an 8 to 9 hour drive from Boise. So a lot of these dudes, I do not envy them the 9-hour drive back into Boise with their parents after they get caught with weed on a choir trip.
They got off pretty damn easy, though.
Yeah, no, most of them didn't even get in, like, legal trouble. A few of them did. A few of them ended up having to, like, attend, like, classes and shit, but none of them, like, served any time for it or were, like, forced to pay a fine or anything like that. They just got sent home early, and it kind of ruined their experience, which is, in and of itself, not a crazy story. I'm sure anybody else can, like, think of stories from, like, high school trips they took where people got caught with drugs, right? The crazy thing about this story, to me at least, is that was the reaction of the students the next day. So the following morning, you know, we went out, we did a bunch of fun stuff. We visited a museum, we visited an aquarium, like, we got to go sing at a church and get like clinicked by like a college professor. And afterwards, everyone steps outside and, like, the choir president at the time insisted on being like, you know, let's all pray for them.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And I mean, I love that guy. I'm still friends with him. He's a youth pastor now, but he insisted on bringing us outside and being like, I know some bad things have happened on this trip. I just want us all to join hands and pray for our friends that they get clean and that they get healthy. I just thought it was so funny to make that big of a spectacle out of some dudes getting caught with a little bit of weed. Like, grow up. Like, come on.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, like, I was looking around, I was like, how many people in this circle probably smoke weed or drink in their free time? And the answer would probably surprise you, because Mormon kids get stressed. They do. They get stressed more than anybody I know. And so, like, it wouldn't be surprising with me to find that all those dudes might have smoked weed at some point in their life. The only difference is they didn't get caught, and they didn't get caught in such spectacular fashion. But that might just be the craziest thing that happened during my time there, was the 5 or 6 dudes all packed into one hotel room, smoking weed, getting sent home, and having to take the 9-hour drive of shame with their parents back to Boise.
And the rest of us prayed for them.
Yeah, apparently. I'm not of a religious persuasion that really has prayer, so I just sent them happy thoughts. That I hope they didn't get in too much trouble. I didn't need to pray for them to get clean, because weed's not that big of a deal.
I don't think I was Christian yet at the time, so I can't remember whether or not I actually prayed with them or not either.
I was already a Buddhist at the time, so I didn't pray for them, but I definitely sent them good vibrations. So that's about the craziest story I have. Do you have any last minute stories you want to tack on before we wrap things up here?
I wasn't a very crazy guy in high school. I did some stupid shit.
Didn't we all?
But most of the stuff that I can think about involves, like, drinking. Like, one time, oh my God, all right, this is the only thing. It doesn't really have anything to do with choir, but it was the night before. It was on a school night, basically. I was hanging out with my neighbors, and they were cool and let me drink, right? And they got me some Four Locos.
Those are fun.
Flavored Four Locos. And to this day, it's the only time I've ever drank them. They were absolutely fucking disgusting. Anybody who smelt my breath would attest to that as well. And I woke up. I didn't even drink all that much. And I woke up the next day hungover as shit. And I was and still drunk. And I was still drunk for a while at school, and it was the most uncomfortable moment of my days in high school.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's a wrapping point for us, don't you?
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody, we want to thank you once again for listening to the No Experience podcast. We are always trying to grow our channel, so, leave a like, leave a subscribe, share it with your friends, text it to your exes, whatever you have to do to get our name out there. We really do appreciate it. We're on Facebook at the No Experience Podcast. We're on Twitter and TikTok at the Dongin Man and Brick Road, respectively. Those are both my personal Twitter and TikTok. Just sharing clips, bits, and bops. We got some big news. We're starting video podcasts officially next week. So stay tuned for that. We've gotten a lot of suggestions that something visual would be great for the podcast. So we are finally placating the masses because we are a river unto the people, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for listening. Be healthy, everybody.
And remember, kids, don't get caught.
If you're going to smoke weed, don't get caught.
Stop. Welcome to the No Experience Podcast, where two flamboyant little choir boys are on a quest to talk about anything and everything. I'm Jared Hines, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Ammar. And today, we're talking about... we're having a story time episode.
You want to try that one again?
No, we're keeping it.
No. Do it again.
God damn it.
Ammar Ammar, who do you swagavaga?